Hello, this is Josh Kulp for Daf Shevui. As you probably have figured out by now, we started learning a new Masechet this week. It's very exciting. After almost 2.5 years of learning Masechet Ketubot, we're moving on to Masechet Avodah Zarah. So I wanted to use this opportunity to talk about the first daf and maybe also as a little bit of an introduction to the Masechet. Masechet Avodah Zarah is probably one of the most difficult Masechtot to learn, in the sense that many of the values that it expresses do not fit well with our own modern sensibilities. We live in a world in which we strive for more inclusiveness. We strive for harmony. We believe more firmly than probably most people in the world have ever believed that all human beings were created equally, that we're all fundamentally the same. And as such, many of the differentiations that Avodah Zarah makes between Jews and non-Jews are very difficult for us. And that's part of what this first Agada is trying to deal with, I think, in a sort of ancient way. And this is not a problem that is new for us. This is a problem that has existed since the Greek period. The Greeks had a very strong tend towards universalism, and the Jewish tradition has a much stronger tendency towards particularism. It has its own universal side. But that's, I think, what the Agada is trying to cope with in a certain sense. To put the matter very clearly, how can it be that God is the creator of the world, creator of all human beings, as we learned from Genesis, and has a preference, yet a special relationship with the Jews? A classic question asked about us being the chosen people. How come we're the chosen people? Is there something different about our genes? Is it a racist ideology that we believe that we're better than other people? Or is it something that we've done to deserve this preferential treatment? And the Agada really struggles with that question. It presents Rome and then Greece, and then all of the other nations coming in front of God in this imagined judgment day, and God asking them, have you done the correct things for the right reasons? He puts it in the way of, have you kept the Torah? But really, when we look at the heart of the questions, are you doing things, are you doing good for the world for the right reasons, or are you doing them only for your own base reasons or for your own glorification? And in that sense, the ideology being expressed here in the beginning of Avodah Zarah is one not of ontological superiority. Jews aren't ontologically, in other words, our genes aren't superior to other people. Rather, our behavior, our attitude towards the world, the way that we engage with the world is superior to other cultures. Now, I know that in and of itself is still problematic, but I think it helps us understand at least one way of looking at Jewish role in the world. The Jewish role in the world, at least according to this opening Agadah, is not to be greater than all other people in an ontological sense, but to act in a way that is, to use a phrase that's used a bit too often, a light unto other nations. To act in a way that is reflective of how we believe God wants us to act in this world, whether those are with deeds of loving kindness, tikkun olam, and our own particular mitzvot, I'm not going to deny that too, are a way of bringing God into this world, and not in a sense of showing that we're superior just because we were born this way. Now, I will admit that throughout the Masechet, there will be tendencies that I would class more on the particularist or even the racist side of the equation. And I think that's understandable. We're talking about people who wrote texts 2,000 years ago who had a different way of looking at the world. I think what's important is to try to think in these terms, to think, when are we attracted to Judaism? When do we want to use our Judaism to separate ourselves from the rest of the world in order to do great things for the rest of the world? And when do we want to separate ourselves from the rest of the world just because for no other reason than we just want to be separate and we want to have our own special relationship with God. Not to say that being separate in and of itself is always problematic, but there, I believe, has to be a healthy dose of that universalism infused into the particular existence of Judaism for us to be a successful people in the modern era. It's going to come up a lot in this Masechet. There are going to be a lot of issues that are difficult for you to deal with. I encourage you to talk about them on our Facebook group or in other forums, and not to feel afraid to ask questions, but also not to condemn material that you find distasteful immediately without thinking about it and without realizing to a certain extent of where it comes from and how old some of this material is. The challenges will continue, but good luck studying Masechet Avodah Zarah.